Marva, welcome.
Thank you.
So let's hear just kind of about where your story begins with transformation.
I was diagnosed with rheumatoid and osteoarthritis when I was 40. So that was some time ago.
More than 1 year.
More than one.
More than
10. Let's just leave it there. More than 10 years ago. No, it was over 20 years ago. And I did the initial treatments for rheumatoid arthritis and eventually progressed, after failing all of the initial treatments, to Remicade, which was an infusion. And on the Remicade treatments, I also was on prednisone, which is a steroid. And it was at that time that I noticed the weight gain. I already had a full face that I absolutely, now I look at those pictures and I often say I want my cheeks back and I want my face back. I do like my face.
It's a good face.
It is a good face. I do like my face in those pictures. I like my face now, but I do like my cheeks. But then was when I noticed, the weight gain. I would go to the doctor for the infusions, which were like every 6 weeks, and I would notice that there was a weight gain. And I'd notice it in my clothes as well. I never weighed myself regularly. I never had to worry about weighing myself, I guess. And that was not something that was a part of who I was. I was accustomed to working out. I was accustomed to running. I taught jazzercise. I did all these other things, that I stayed active. So weight, again, wasn't what was a big issue of concern for me. And I always just wanted to be fit. I wasn't concerned about the weight. I wasn't concerned about the scale. It was just fitting into my clothes and looking good in them, of course, if I fit them. But when they get a little, with a cute face. But if they get a little snug, of course, I get a little concerned. So with the Remicade treatments, that's when the weight came on. And then there was the realization that I had to be more concerned about my health than the weight. And I don't know if I didn't worry about the weight, because I did. I worried about it enough to tell my trainer at that time, can we do more? Can we work more on getting this off? And at that time, I was working out 5 days a week. Yeah, and he said I was doing too much. And I think that's where we started seeing more breakdown in the knees, higher impact stuff. And it had happened probably before, because in my 20s, I used to run, every day in the morning before I went to the hospital. And then the jazzercise. So the knees were already, pretty hammered out.
The knees had taken a toll.
They had taken a toll.
Had rheumatoid arthritis on top of that.
So it was bone on bone already.
Gotcha.
So he then started telling me, that we could do more with the diet, work with the diet. But I really didn't have much of an issue with what I ate. So I started with NutriFit, which was a delivery of meals, and had the calories, calculated and everything with a nutritionist. So I had my meals delivered, and they were prepared. So that was really easy, costly, but worth it. But, I didn't really see any drop in the weight. Again, it wasn't what I was consuming. I was also taking the prednisone and retaining a lot of fluid, and I then decided that, okay, if I stayed at a certain size, I was okay. I was comfortable with it. I was healthy. I was out of pain. My joints weren't swelling, I didn't have the deformity of the arthritis, especially in my hands, I was worried about. And we had stopped that. So at 44, 45, I remember 44, it was around 9/11, and I had just gotten the x-rays back, and I had a lot of swelling in the left hand. And the rheumatologist asked if we could increase the dose of Remicade to prevent joint swelling. And this finger is the only one that has the damage. And I did increase it at that time. And we increased also prednisone, but I also saw an increase in weight. So I remember
and
going...
these were the infusions that you were doing, like every 6 weeks. So every 6 weeks you're going, you're sitting, you're getting infusions, taking away the pain, preventing stuff from getting worse, but it's also the scale and everything is going up because of it.
And it wasn't, it's not like I had the infusion and I blew up or anything like that. I mean, I don't want it to
like a
sound
blowfish.
It didn't quite do that. But I even felt heavier. I mean, working out felt like it was a struggle. I didn't enjoy it, even though I did it. I didn't really enjoy it because it felt like it was really stressful and hard. And it was discouraging. It was really discouraging. But I was dead set on if I was gonna gain the weight, I was not gonna be a fat, flabby.
I'm gonna own this weight.
Yeah, I was not gonna do that. I was not gonna do this. And so then it's the lies you tell yourself. I had always been like a 5 or a 7, and I had gotten up to a 10, and I would never, I said I'd never buy a 10, and then I'd say I'd never buy a 12, right? And so the 10s were saying, I'm not buying a 12. Well, where the heck am I going to go on a 10, and feel comfortable? But I had to buy 12s. And I just was not comfortable with it. And so it caused a lot of concern for me. And so I started looking back at me and back at how I got to this point and the correlation between the treatment and just what could I do differently. Looked at nutrition, looked at working out. I'm doing both of those, the working out, the eating. I'm doing both of those properly. Then I was at that time, I would drink more than I drink now, wine, beer, not beer so much, but wine more, And so I thought, what can I cut back? What could I do that I had control over? I didn't feel I had control over the medication. I didn't feel I did, but I thought I could control the working out and eating and drinking. So changed up with the working out, and the trainer at that time said, well, let me come to your house, and he was going to go through my pantry and refrigerator. Yeah. And I allowed him to.
Wow, brave lady.
Yeah, I allowed him to.
No secrets.
No, there was no reason to have secrets. I mean, as I said to you, if I'm going to pay you, I'm paying you for a reason.
Right.
It's an investment in me. That's the way I look at it. I can't afford to pay you and get nothing in return.
Right.
I just cannot. The ROI can't do it. And so I allowed him to go through it. And he had some things that he took out, but I'm not one that had junk food around the house. I don't have that stuff. And so it was very frustrating for me. But what I did see at that time, though, about me is the depression, which I wouldn't name at the time, but I can years later call it the depression, and just the self-loathing that I felt for being at that place, the feeling of like, I'm doing everything I can here, and I'm not getting the results. And just not, although I had acknowledged that this is where I am and this is why I'm here, I didn't like me for being there. So I felt that was an inside job, that I needed to work on that on the inside. And so, I went to therapy. I had been going to therapy before, but I decided to bring it up in therapy. And when I brought it up in therapy, I touched on some issues that had happened back years before, like when I was 16, and uncovered I don't know if we want to tape this or not, but uncovered some other stuff. You can edit this however you want. We'll talk. I'll share it, but it uncovered some issues from my youth at 16, where I had been raped, and I hadn't talked about it and hadn't disclosed it. And the issues of shame and the issues of sort of hiding behind weight to not be attractive, or to not be the chosen one, or to not be I guess in that position again, vulnerable. And I brought it up in therapy and worked through it, went through psychoanalysis and worked through it for several years. Fast forward from 2011 to about 2013, a little over 2 years, and I went back to the rheumatologist and just asked, can we do something differently? I'd like to see if I can reduce the dosages. And then in asking that, I did my own research, because as a clinical pharmacist, I can do that.
Yeah.
And I realized that we had reached the max dose already, and increasing the dose wasn't helping me. I was not getting better results from an increased dose. So I told him that I would not, he says, let's try something else, let's increase it again. I told him I would not, and I told him I'd stop the prednisone. As soon as we stopped the prednisone, as soon as we stopped the Remicade, I went to another physician, and about, we started another medication. We decreased it. We didn't stop it then, because it took until like the beginning of 2015. I titrated off of it in 2015. That was the end of 2013, so it took about a year. 2015, I think I met you in 2015, huh? Mm. Yeah. And not met you, but that's when we got together. And, went to see him then in January, February, end of 2014, and then 2015, I think I started losing weight. And then we started training together. Mm-hmm. Then I had that big weight loss of like 22 pounds when I was completely off of it.
Right. Body just finally said thank you.
But we had started working out together when I lost.
Yeah. I think you were at your biggest.
Yeah. I was at like the largest I'd ever been. Yeah.
When we started together.
Yeah. And then I think I had like one, like the last week, and then that was it. I'd had a knee replacement, total knee replacement, and several surgeries on the other knee. And we worked out at my home. But I remember and I feel like I've just gone all over the place. But the weight then, when it came off after coming off of the Remicade and the prednisone, and I was still on methotrexate and gold. When I came off of it, it scared me. It frightened me. I thought something was wrong with me. I thought something had happened. But I kept, I think the thing that I look back at and I see is a lot of the healing that took place along the way, facing a lot of those old issues that I had just kind of stuffed down and had repressed, the pain that was with it. Kind of coming to know who I am at such a late age in life, late stage rather, and being good with who I am. It was from that 16 to about the 40s. It was more about performance. I was very performance-based, excelled at everything I did. It was to deter people from me. People were more interested in what I did than who I was. I was definitely a person who was into what I did. You didn't need to know who I am. And now, totally, I have such a heart for wanting other people to be more of who they are and not so much into the being, to doing. So we can hide a lot behind those facades, and weight can be one of those, So dieting and how did I get to the weight thing? Yeah. It wasn't anything that I was focused on. It was a labyrinth of sorts that got me there. But I think it was divine intervention that I should get there that way. And healing, and getting there that way and coming out of it. And what I've lost, after I lost those initial 22 pounds, I've continued to lose and kept them off. You and I play back and forth between 5 and 10 pounds, but I'm comfortable where I am. I don't really worry about it, honestly. I mean, I act up in here and pretend I am, but that's what we do. I'm not really worried. I mean, I do, but when I have my bouts with my wrist or my shoulders or my knees, I struggle. I struggle with that. I really do. I get really bummed about not being able to train like I want to. That wears me out. Yeah. That discourages me.
Because you've been able to go from full knee replacement and tons of surgeries on the other side, and not being able to even do a squat or go up down the stairs without pain, and crazy shoulder stuff, to being able to do a full dead hang pull-up in your fitness career, as we would call it, which is hard for anyone. On top of that, hard for female, let alone someone who has dealt with rheumatoid arthritis. It's quite the feat. And deadlifted 225 pounds for 3 reps, which, again, for any person would be a challenge, let alone someone who is 40 plus 1 or 2-ish years. So...
And 2 carpal tunnel surgeries.
And 2 carpal tunnel surgeries along the way. So you certainly have been able to do a lot in spite of all these things. And what is it that keeps you moving forward in spite of all the adversity that keeps getting thrown your way?
When you tell me that I can't do it.
It's true. She did tell me I'm going to do a pull-up, and I was like, oof. I didn't say she couldn't. I just said, oof, and that motivated her.
What keeps me doing it, huh? It's a passion of sorts, I think. I've come to believe it really is. I think it's a part of the liking me. I like me. I like me, and I like being a healthy me, and I plan on being a fit and healthy me. And that pushes me. That really pushes me.
And both your parents had to be kind of taken care of at the end. Is that correct?
That's correct. My dad died of prostate cancer. My dad had a heart attack. He was hypertensive, but he was relatively healthy. Well, very, very healthy. Prostate cancer, he was diagnosed with 2 years before he died. My mom, on the other hand, I used to call her a train wreck in that she was hypertensive, high cholesterol, diabetic, end-stage renal disease, dialysis. And, you know, at 16, I said that I wasn't going to have any of those things. And I think that's another part of diet with me. I have chosen all along to, as you know, I'm supposed to. Brown people are supposed to. Well, that's one of the shoulds that I'm not going to have as much as it's in my power to do. Anything that I can do to not fall into that, I'm not going to. I'm going to do. So, in turn, I have rheumatoid, not degenerative osteoarthritis. Dieting, we said a little bit sooner. I've never been on a diet. Never have. Don't believe in them. I think it's a lie. I think it's a fallacy. I do. I just think it's an untruth. If it works for you, I think it's amazing. But with me, there's something about truthfulness that I think it's something that has to come from within, that desire. You know where you're going, and you're going to get there. I mean, if it's from the inside out, just like I said, it was an inside job for me to figure out where I was going, with the pain, and when I discovered where it came from, I had to do the work. It's the same way with the weight, I think. For me, it is. If you don't want to be in that 12 and you want to go back to that 6, that's an inside job. Or as Catherine said, it's made in the kitchen, and it is. And I believe that. Or you used to tell me, like I'd tell you what I ate, and you'd ask if I want to do nutrition. I wanted you to follow my nutrition. I said, we can't want to. And then we'd talk about it just casually. And I used to always eat pasta in the morning after we worked out. And you only told me once. You can't do that. You can't keep doing that to get where you want to go. You had to tell me one time.
Mainly because I thought it was weird that you were eating pasta at 6 in the morning.
Because my other trainer told me if I wanted to eat it, I had to eat it in the morning so I could work it off throughout the day. And I loved pasta.
Do anything for pasta.
Well, you just wanted a picture of it to see how much I was eating. Yeah.
Right.
You said, well, how much is eat? Yeah. So there you got it.
So what's one piece of advice that you could give to someone who maybe in this place where they are dealing with, something knee, that's like their knee is all messed up and they're trying to work through and find a rhythm, or they are dealing with rheumatoid arthritis, or they are hypertensive, or any of these things that you've talked about have either affected you or family members, or they're just feeling like, well, why bother? Why start? I mean, they heard your story, but what's the one thing you feel like they need to truly hear?
I feel like my story's all over the place. Decide where you want to go and get the support system and and just the environment that you need to help get you there. We can't all do it, on our own. I may not have just the wherewithal to do it alone, and you just may need someone else to go with. It may be a buddy to work out with, or it may be a therapist to work with some of that, or it may be, for me, for example, as far as working out, I know my limitations. I know that I can't work out in a large group. I know that I can't do it. I know because of my knee I cannot do it. I know that I cannot keep up. So for me, it's a one-on-one, because I know I need someone to. I'm a little slow, it's 40 plus another one or another. So I need
from the jazzercise instructor.
Yes.
You know yourself.
I know me, and so that's really good though, to know what your own limitations are. Just because it's sold doesn't mean it's that you need to buy it, or just because it's a promotion doesn't mean it's for you. Figure out who you are and what you need, and how you can get that met. And if you don't, just get someone to work with you, talk with you, life coach or something that can help you get to that place. But we don't have to stay stuck. I guess that's it. Just don't stay stuck. There's no reason to stay stuck. I mean, there's enough support out there.
And life's too good, right?
Life's excellent. Life's amazing.
So with that, what's next on the Marva fitness, health, life, living cycle? What's coming up next with this powerful, young, strong body of yours?
We got to get this right shoulder fit first, and then
she is rehabbing a shoulder. That's true.
Yeah. Then after that.
Mm-hmm.
I told you what I wanted to do.
Say it live.
If I put it out there, if I build it, it will come.
There you go.
Okay, so I want to climb Mount Rainier.
She wants to climb Mount Rainier.
And he told me I could go do it with Miles.
That's my son. He's 2.5 right now. He gives us time.
Why am I not laughing?
Just because the same thing I said about the pull-ups. Here we go. She'll get it done.
I will.
She will. She will climb up. We'll see if she gets down.
Yeah, I'll get up and get down.
There you go.
Yeah, I will.
Very cool. Well, Marva, thank you as always for everything, for being who you are and sharing your story and everything, and being motivational and inspirational to so many people.
Thank you for having me.
All right, my friends, thanks again for listening to another great episode. Now, I do have one request. If you know of someone that's got a amazing success story, or if you know of a transformational coach or transformation authority figure with insights and the lessons that need to be shared, we'd love to talk to any of these people. There's a good chance we can have them on one of the next episodes, and they continue to help us all grow as we continue to unveil the truth of what it takes to truly transform. Last thing, love for you to head on over to iTunes and hit that 5-star review button. Helps to get this message out and continue to transform more lives. As always, my friends, Coach Joseph Hawthorne, peace be the journey.